Three Demons, Book 2, Chapter 4 Blood is Thicker Than Water. Rhea returns to the club room around nightfall. As she opens the door, she sees everyone laughing and having a good time with Benji, something she never thought she would ever see in her life. Joseph turns to look at her. Rhea has a big smile on her face as tears begin to form. Benji, go see your mother, Joseph tells Benji. Benji does what he is told and gets up from where he was and runs up to Rhea, where the two embrace one another in a hug. Joseph looks at the two with a smile on his face. Oscar giggles softly, smiling at Joseph. This does catch Joseph's attention as he looks down at her. I really am surprised, Joseph. This seemingly catches Joseph off guard. How? You should already know how awesome I am, Joseph says braggadociously while flexing. No. How great you are with bringing people together. None of us knew how to bring Benji out of his shell. You did it with relative ease. Oscar continues, looking towards Benji and Rhea while they speak to one another. Maybe don't underestimate me next time, Joseph says, placing his hand on top of Oscar's head. The group all spend the entire night at the club room, playing games with Benji and telling stories of the like. Everyone does eventually fall asleep there, though. Alter switch to Randy. Randy is the first one to wake up, yawning loudly as he opens his eyes. He looks to the left and notices Oscar draped over him asleep. At least he's fully clothed at his time, Randy says to himself. Very disappointing. Joseph speaks up as Jake whacks him over the head with his scythe. What the hell was that for? Joseph asks, screaming at Jake, to which Jake doesn't respond. Randy gets up from the couch, being careful not to wake up Oscar as he begins to head into the clubroom kitchen. Holy fuck, I forgot you could cook anything, Joseph yells out. What's that supposed to mean? Randy asks, obviously confused. It's been so long since you've had the chance to cook anything. I mean, since Oscar and Rhea moved in, they've essentially become housewives for you. Joseph says this, placing his finger and thumb on his chin. But as he says this, Randy is blushing out there in reality. The fact you're blushing from that says a lot, Jake says mockingly. Randy doesn't respond as he continues to focus on cooking. As he begins finishing up the meal, Benji sleepily walks in. What you doing, Papa? Benji asks, rubbing one of his eyes. Food. That's seriously how you respond to your kid, Joseph lambasts Randy. Benji grabs a stool and stands next to Randy as he plates up everyone's food. Go get everyone up for me, okay? Randy asks Benji, to which Benji happily does, waking everyone up, telling them, Papa made food. Randy comes out, handing everyone a plate for them to eat. I never knew you could cook, Randy, Oscar asks, unintentionally insulting Randy in the process. Say, it was extremely noticeable, Joseph says in the subconscious as Randy takes a swig of his flask. Benji looks upwards towards Randy. Papa, can I have a try? Benji says, reaching up towards the flask. Randy moves the flask out of Benji's reach. No, you're too young. Rhea chimes in. You know, Randy, you're also too young for that. Randy just looks at her with a blank expression before he continues to eat his meal. As everyone is enjoying their meal, Kazuto enters the club room, finally feeling better. However, he doesn't seem to notice everyone eating and trying to speak to him. Kazuto finally snaps back to reality when he notices Benji sitting next to Randy. Before Kazuto could ask who the small child was, Randy is handing him a plate of food. Here, eat. Kazuto hesitantly takes the plate from Randy, nodding at him as a thank you as he sits alone away from the rest of the group. Is it just me, or is Kazuto acting a bit strange? Kitsune asks. But before anyone could answer, Selo looks down at his watch and begins to visibly panic. Oh shit, I'm late! Lady Luna's gonna kill me! Selo says loudly before rushing out of the clubhouse. Today's going to be a weird day, isn't it? Kitsune asks herself. After everyone's had finished their meals, Oscar and Benji both head to the kitchen area to wash up the dishes. Rhea suddenly gets notified about a nearby feral occult wandering around. She informs everyone and asks Oscar to stay behind and watch Benji for her. The remaining group heads out to an area that looks abandoned. Cobwebs strung all across the inside. The building looks as if it was a shed of some sort. Seriously, it's always an abandoned something. Abandoned house, abandoned church, now an abandoned shed. What's next? An abandoned ocean? Joseph asks with the subconscious, absolutely not taking this whole thing seriously. Before entering, Rhea looks back at everyone and tells them to be ready before they enter. Once inside, they all see this giant crab-like being, its eyes popping out and moving in different directions. Giant claws covered in dried blood, multiple legs that have animal and human corpses stuck to them. These things get more strange as the days go by, Jake exclaims. The crab notices the group, and as soon as it does, the group scatters in different directions. Rhea is the only one still standing in the same place as before. The crab goes to drop the crab hammer onto Rhea, however Rhea was able to catch the attack, causing a small crater to form under her. The bottom half of the crab claw begins to disappear, causing the crab to cry out in pain. Ava then jumps onto the back of the crab, placing her hand onto the shell of the beast. She yells out and a gigantic volt of electricity surges through the beast's body, potent enough to be seen by the others. Kitsune then uses Randy as leverage as she climbs up onto his back and jumps off of him as she launches her tail towards the underbelly of the beast. She rams her fist through the skin of the beast, however she finds herself trapped and unable to get her arm out of the beast. Rhea calls out for Kitsune as Randy has begun to scale the legs of the crab to reach her. Rhea looks over at Kazuto and sees him just standing there and spacing out. Kazuto, what are you doing? Kazuto then snaps back to reality and follows Randy up to where Kitsune is trapped. What took you so long, Prince Charming? Randy asks Kazuto, being very clearly irritated. Kitsune then looks behind Randy as she sees something that is in need of attention. I hate to interrupt the bromance, but something's coming for us. Kitsune mockingly warns the two. Randy looks behind him and sees hundreds of small crabs running towards the group. Great, just what I fucking need. Randy exclaims as Diablo begins to glow in a light blue energy, the blade itself turning from black to blue. Kazuto and Kitsune both look shocked as they've never seen Randy be able to do this before. Randy then moves his sword across his body. Tempest Wave! Randy calls out before swinging Diablo, causing a rush of energy being flung at the hundreds of crab spawns, causing them all to be cut through, the corpses falling onto the ground, and a smelly, thick green blood-like substance splurting out of every single one of them. Randy turns back around and helps Kazuto get Kitsune unstuck from inside the beast, causing a geyser of the same green substance to ooze out and splash the three of them. This is so gross, Kitsune says with a disgusted look on her face. The three come back to the ground where Alva and Rhea are both there to meet him. Rhea mentioning the fact that the three of them don't smell great due to the green substance. Before the conversation could continue, the crab beast lets out a massive roar before slamming his claw onto the ground, splitting the group up again. The beast once again goes to strike, but this time at Kazuto, who is once again spaced out. Kitsune calls out to him, but that doesn't do anything. As she rushes and pushes him out of the way, she looks up and sees the claw coming down quickly. Rhea and Alva both call out for Kitsune as Randy barely makes it in time to take the blow for her. The claw digging into Randy's arm, ripping his skin in half, deep enough to where you can see the entire part of the bone where Randy's shoulder and arm meets, the gash going all the way down to his wrist. Alter switch to Joseph. Joseph, with a big smile on his face, wincing from all the pain on his face, looks up at the beast. Randy, why did you do that? Kitsune asks, but instinctively shutting herself up as she sees the liters of blood pouring out of Joseph's arm right now. Kazuto, Rhea, and Alva are all in the same state of shock, seeing Joseph still standing from that, let alone having a smile on his face. Joseph goes to grab his arm, but jumps from the pain. Damn, this is a bit too much for me to get rid of by myself. But that's fine. I only need one arm to rip your head off. Joseph, that's enough. Don't continue to push yourself, Rhea calls out, demanding Joseph to stop fighting. Joseph doesn't listen, though, as his gauntlet forms on his right hand. Rhea then looks over at Ava. Get in contact with Asuka and tell her to get here as fast as possible, Rhea being clearly shaken up by the appearance of Joseph's injury. Joseph then jumps into the air, disappearing before reappearing in front of the crab beast, placing his hand on top of the beast's head. Gravity crunch! Joseph calls out before the beast cries out in pain. The cracking of the shell, the tearing of its skin, is filling the room as Joseph forces the head of the beast to cave in on itself, the green substance splashing out everywhere as there is nothing left but a wrecked body covered in guts as Joseph is standing in the middle of it. Rhea and Alva both run over to Joseph as he walks out from the mangled body of the beast. Idiot, I told you not to engage anymore. Look at yourself. Rhea berates Joseph as Joseph is just chuckling to himself. Kitsune walks over to the group as Joseph explains, I wonder what it actually looks like when you pop your joints. Before Joseph is able to let his intrusive thoughts win, however, Kitsune grabs and squeezes the injured arm. Don't even think about it. Asuka arrives and immediately freezes, seeing Joseph's massive wound on his arm. What happened to your arm, Joseph? Asuka quickly runs over to Joseph, almost tripping over her own feet just to get to him to heal that massive gash. Well, Best Friend and Prince Charming were in trouble. I wasn't going to let them get hurt. Joseph tries to explain, but Oscar looks up at him with tears in her eyes. Don't you have any idea there are people here that care about you? Enough not to see you like this? Joseph tries to speak again, but is cut off by Alpha this time. Randy, Rhea and Oscar are both right. Even though you finished the job, you could have been hurt even more, possibly to the point where Oscar's healing wouldn't have done anything. Suddenly, Rhea smacks Kazuto in the face, which grabs everyone's attention. What were you thinking out there? One of y'all could have ended up dead because you were spacing out the whole time. Rhea berates Kazuto, to which Kazuto doesn't respond in any way. Come on, Rhea, cut him some slack. Everyone makes a mistake every once in a while. There's no point in getting upset. Joseph says, trying to calm down the situation. However, Rhea turns and glares at him. Oh, you're also at fault here, Joseph. Rhea's demonic aura begins to engulf her. This makes Joseph stop talking finally and hopes not to get reprimanded by her. Kazuto begins to walk away from everyone, keeping his head down and not saying a word. Where are you going, Kazuto? Rhea sternly asks Kazuto. Kazuto looks back. I'm sorry, Rhea, but I'm going home. Joseph stands up and walks over to Kazuto, putting his arm on his shoulder. Oh, don't worry about Rhea. I'm sure she'll forgive us later. Kazuto swipes Joseph's arm off of him. Don't touch me. Kazuto walks away, leaving Joseph awestruck, not knowing how to respond to what had just happened. Alter switch to Randy. Randy, Rhea, Asuka, and Benji all arrive at Randy's house, where Asuka has begun wrapping Randy's arm, due to the gash being so severe that Asuka couldn't heal all the damage. Randy looks over at Rhea. So, any idea what's going on with Kazuto? He asks. Yeah, I've never seen Kazuto act like this before. Asuka continues, still wrapping Randy's arm, with a concerned tone in her voice. Rhea plops down on the couch next to Benji, letting out an audible sigh. I'm honestly not. Rhea begins speaking when she notices the mural of King Arthur. Wait a minute, Rhea says to herself. This catches Randy and Asuka's attention. Yeah, I think I know what's going on with them, Rhea reveals. End of Chapter 4.